Bill McKibben was among those marching at the mass protest on Saturday. He is the co-founder and director of 350.org. 20 years ago, he published The End of Nature, the first general audience book about global warming. We're also joined by the Kenyan global justice activist Wahu Kaara, and we welcome you both to Democracy Now! Bill, talk about what's happening inside before we talk about major protests planned for tomorrow once again.
Most of what's happening inside we could have predicted. There's no agreement in sight, everything's up in the air, everybody's waiting for heads of state to arrive and cut a deal. The one thing we couldn't have predicted a few months ago was just how strong and how courageous poor nations, small nations, vulnerable nations are being here. They're under intense pressure, and yet they're standing up to it so far with great courage. The flashpoint, really, has been this number 350. About 100 delegations now have endorsed that target and are trying very hard to get it put back into the main text where it was taken out.
And explain what 350 means, what's written down your tie right
350
now.
is the most important number in the world, though we didn't know it 2 years ago. It's what scientists tell us is the most carbon we can have in the atmosphere if we want a world that works. We're already at 390 parts per million CO2. That's why the Arctic is melting. That's why Africa is drying up. And it's why we need this conference to be treating this not as another problem to be dealt with in some incremental, easy fashion, but as the emergency that it is.
And do you have that sense? You're from the United States. Do you have that sense among the U.S. delegation, which is being called the key obstructionist country here?
No. The U.S. is, I mean, the Obama administration has committed very little political capital to this. The offer that they've put on the table, 4% reductions from 1990 levels of carbon by 2020, is less than the agreement, less than the amount we agreed to cut in Kyoto a dozen years ago. It's a pathetic offer, but it reflects just how little political attention the administration's been willing to pay for it. They're hiding behind the skirts of the Senate, saying, oh, we couldn't get anything more ambitious through the Senate, but they haven't made any effort to do it.
The Senate, there are several bills now. Explain the difference from cap and trade to cap and dividend. I think it makes people's eyes glaze over. Already, global warming presented in the United States is still a debate whether it is human-made.
So we're going to have to cap carbon if we're ever going to deal with this climate crisis. We're going to have to cap carbon and bring down the amount we produce. That's going to make carbon more valuable. It's going to make fossil fuel more expensive. There are many ways that you could go about doing this. The way that the main bill, the Waxman, Markey, Kerry, Boxer, Lieberman, Graham bill, whatever does it.
And I should say, in 1 hour after this broadcast, Senator Kerry is going to be speaking right here. In fact, for the Democracy Now! Viewers who watch on television right through this glass, in a few minutes, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor of California, is going to be speaking here. But yes, the Kerry, Boxer, et cetera bill.
That's the effort to, in essence, cap carbon and round up 60 votes by giving everybody a little piece of the action, every interest group a little piece of the action. Some serious money for nukes, for clean coal, for whatever, kind of buying votes one at a time. It's one tactic, but it's a pretty messy and ugly process. And it's not at all clear with the number of loopholes in that bill how much it would accomplish. This other bill, introduced last week by Senator Cantwell and Senator Collins, is, in its architecture, more interesting. It would take the fees to put carbon in the atmosphere directly from, say, ExxonMobil at the very top of the stream, and return them every month via a check to every person in the U.S. Your price at the pump would go up as Exxon paid off the cost of this permit to produce carbon, but you'd be getting the check to make you whole every month. It's a kind of interesting architecture, and there's, I think, some hope that if it had strong targets attached to it, it could do pretty interesting things.
Wahu Kaara, as you listen to what's going on in the United States, from where you live in Kenya, why are you here, and what are you hoping will be accomplished this week?
I am here because it's important for the kind of work I work in, organizing and mobilizing social movements for social agency in transformation, to come here and link up with others, and that's why much of my work has been at Klima Forum. However, I'm also here at Bella Center because it's also important to follow up what is happening, even if I find that not so much will be done like the African people expressed yesterday. But we have to be here because the world belongs to us, and we are the people who have alternatives. We are the people to continue reminding the policymakers that we do not have any more time for negotiations, and in particular us from the South, because the more they negotiate, the more we die, and every life is valuable. So for us who are very much interested in the question of the dignity of human life and human dignity and self-determination and human progress and prosperity, where we are convinced each and every global citizen has a right to participate in making that human prosperity. That's why I'm here.
We're going to break and then come back to this discussion, and I want to ask you how you move from working on debt issues around poverty to climate debt and how they're connected. Our guests are Wahu Kaara. She is a Kenyan global justice activist. She'll be one of those on the outside tomorrow in a major Reclaim Power protest. Bill McKibben is with us. He's inside and outside the Bella Center as well, co-founder and director of 350.org. After we speak with them, we're going to go to the tar sands in Alberta and learn about where the United States gets most of its oil. And finally, a debate on cap and trade. Stay with us.
Rain, I love the smell of the rain, rain, rain in my face, and I'm run,